I'm sorry that the camera's on a rocking chair. That's all I could find. Okay, today I'd like to talk to you about strength in generations. This is my TED Talk presentation. We're going to be going over strand 2, standards 1 and 2 from the Individual and Family Relationships course. The first thing I want to talk about is who we are and what can help influence who we are. Who we are, or how we view ourselves, is often referred to as our self-concept. Our self-concept is an idea of the self constructed from the beliefs one holds about oneself and the responses of others. So obviously, who we are and the way we act and interact with people can be greatly influenced by the way we view ourselves. So that being considered, what are some of the things that influence our self-concept, and how can we help benefit that? So what impacts the quality of our self-concept? Obviously, the quality of our self-concept can be an indicator for many mental health issues and even physical health issues if your mental health is affecting that. Emotional health, they're all interconnected. One of the huge things that I see that influences our self-concept are the social interactions that we have, and that can be interpreted in many ways. So the quality, or perhaps not quality, types of relationships that we have can be really influential here. If we have uplifting relationships, that can help us benefit the way we elevate the way we see ourselves, and therefore go forward and benefit us in many other areas of our life. Oftentimes when I think of this in particular, especially your self-concept, much of it is developed in your youth, when you are mostly being influenced by your caregivers. Much of our self-concept comes from the way we are talked to ourselves and the way we were talked to as a child, the sorts of habits that we had at that time in our lives. And so our parents have a crucial role in developing our self-concept. Now there's one other set of people that I'd like to speak about particularly that have a huge influence on our self-concept and our health in general, that don't get a whole lot of limelight, I would say. These are going to be our grandparents. These are my maternal grandparents, my mom's parents, and these are my dad's parents, Grandma and Grandpa Strong. Today I'd like to particularly speak about my grandmothers. So Grandma Harper and Grandma Strong. The reason I want to talk about them in particular is because there have been a few more studies that I have found available about the influence of a grandmother on their children and grandchildren, especially in their childbearing years, and obviously their grandchildren here. This is a quote from a book called The Process of Parenting, which is the textbook for my parenting and child guidance class this semester. In it, it's talking a little bit about the influence that parents can have on their children. Anthropological research presented at an international conference on grandmothers indicates that the involvement of grandmothers and older female kin enhance the lives of their grandchildren. In one study, the presence of the maternal grandmother increased childhood survival at age 6 to 96%. The survival for homes without grandmothers was only 83%. So you can see that's more than a 10% difference in just mortality rate in general. Not really saying exactly why that is the case, but there is a related relationship there. Another quick quote that I wanted to share, same book, just a little bit later on, talking about a specific context. This one's going to particularly talk about how grandmothers can help be a buffer for inadequate parenting. It says preschool grandchildren who were easily frustrated and emotionally reactive children at risk for social problems were able to develop abilities to compromise and cooperate with others when they had contact with their grandmothers. Also, relationships with grandmothers appeared to protect children from the effects of harsh parenting, of a mother's harsh parenting in particular. I think these are an amazing asset that we have, our grandparents are. That is contrasted with a surprising lack of knowledge about who our grandparents even are that exists in this day. I found 2 different studies here that specifically mentioned that there's a massive knowledge gap quoted from study finds when it comes to recent family history. This one down here says, a new survey from Ancestry shows more than half of Americans can't even name their all four grandparents, don't know their full names even. I think this is a huge asset that we have that is being completely undervalued and underutilized. So what can we do about this? In my mind, there's two different things we can do, two different approaches at this problem. The first of which is us working down, starting with those grandparents and developing an interest in the lives of their grandchildren. I think this one's a little easier. The second of which is working up, coming from our children and getting them interested in the lives of their grandparents and more involved in that time. One thing that I can see here that would be really important to do as we're working up is preserving the information that we are receiving from our grandparents and not just hearing it, but recording it for future generations as well, so that they can also benefit from the stories, examples, and strength of our grandparents. This to me is a huge problem, that we don't know our grandparents. And I think it could be a huge asset to a lot of people. I invite you, wherever stage you're in, working down, working up, or somewhere in the middle, to get to know your grandparents and to let your grandchildren know you better so that you can be a mutually beneficial relationship, to build a mutually beneficial relationship. And I thank you for your time. That's my presentation. Bye.
Are you recording it?